I'm Amy.
And I'm Annabelle, and welcome to Escaping Purgatory, a podcast where we rewatch Supernatural, then talk it through in the hope that we can finally escape this show.
So join us each week and leave comments on any upcoming episodes, and we can escape the Supernatural Purgatory together.
So this week we are talking about Season 2, obviously, we're still in Season 2, Episode 11, Playthings. Ooh. This is a fun episode. I kind of miss these Monster of the Week episodes a little bit. With like no real heavy plot points. It was just fun. It's creepy, but fun.
There was a little bit in the middle. Plotty points, I guess, but I do
But nothing new. It was nothing like, there's no major revelations, I think. That's what was kind of nice.
Yeah, that's very true, actually. No, I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. This one's written by kind of a different group than we've had before. So, written by Matt Whitten, who we have seen, like, he's written episodes, and then directed by Charles Beeson. I liked his directing in this episode. I thought it was super good.
Yeah.
And it's rated 8.4 out of 10, which I think is deserved. I'd actually say maybe a little bit higher, this one, from the last two episodes, because I think I enjoyed this more than both of them.
Yeah, and it has the lowest out of all of them. I mean, maybe because it's not as plotty, and like it does feel a bit of like a left turn rather than the direction it was going. So yeah, I guess we can get into it.
Yes, right, let's do it.
So the recap was basically all of the last episode. There was nothing new. I feel like that was kind of an indication that it was kind of nice because we don't get to see where the episode was going to go. It's just like, hey, this is what happened last week, and that's it. Because, you know, usually it's like, oh, it's going to be about his powers, or it's going to be their relationship as brothers, or their relationship to John. It's like, no, this week it's just...
Yeah, it's continuing on from where we were, so let's, you know.
Yeah. So we see this, it's a Victorian-style house, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so. American architecture, I just don't know it, so... But I think so.
It is Victorian style. It's not like Georgian period, because if you see the thing is if you see Victorian style houses in the UK, they look different than they do in the US. And I know that's because like it's not technically Victorian, it's just like 1800s. But like, for example, like Georgian and Regency style is very kind of flat on the front. There's like big windows and things, whereas like the American style seems to like those kind of bay windows where they're almost like hexagonal shaped, and there's lots of wood paneling in the front, which was kind of moved away from, I think, in the sort of Victorian era in England, at least. Yeah. So it looks very different, although it's the same time period, and I think sometimes people like think of the two as being the same. Like the UK and the US. No, it's really different style. So yeah, I like it. It's very I was thinking all the way through this one about like American Horror Story for some reason. Like it kind of reminds me of the house from that, sort of.
Yeah,
and then
definitely.
The Hotel series as well. There's a few little references in this to other like horror movies and things. Which some of them I couldn't place. Yeah, some of them I couldn't quite place. So I think you're right. I think The Shining's definitely in there. So I'm sure people will point out some more for us. But visually, there's definitely some tropes in this episode.
Definitely. This is also another episode that, like, this one and No Exit are two from season 2 that I will always remember. And I think it's because they're the creepiest ones.
Yeah, I agree, actually. This one is terrifying in a certain way. I don't know, because is it the dolls? Okay.
I think it's a mixture of everything. I think it's a little bit of a mixture of everything. Anyway, let's go. I sidetracked completely from like the first sentence. Like usual.
It's fine.
So, did I ever tell you, this could not be in there, but the doll thing, I think it is a doll thing. My mum used to have those China face dolls. Like, she had like 3 of them.
Yeah.
It's kind of I don't know where they are now. I think she might have got rid of them. I hope she did.
Do you want to know something horrifying.
Sure.
So I used to have a lot of China dolls, specifically because I have an auntie who would buy them for me. And every single one of those dolls was also called Amy.
Oh no. Was that bought on purpose? Or
yeah, they were all bought on purpose. So if she would see a China doll that had my name, she would buy it and give it to me. Yeah, I had about 10 different China dolls that were all called Amy, and they were all dressed like creepy Victorian children.
Not super creepy at all.
And so we see a woman who we find out her name is Susan, you know, talking to her daughters, telling them to basically it's like get packed up because something's happening. Then it seems like they're going to be moving. Maggie says something along the lines of, "Did she say you son of a bitch?"
Yeah, she does. There's a guy from Goodwill there to come collect their stuff, and they're like not happy about
That's
it.
right.
And yeah, one of the girls says like "son of a bitch," and the other one repeats it, which I love, and gets in trouble. Yeah, so the reason they're mad is because there's a guy from Goodwill coming to like collect their toys, and as he leaves, the two girls go into the room, and there's like a big doll's house there that looks like the hotel, and they're playing with these like weird dolls. You see her like put one of them to bed, and then she turns around and it's gone. The dolls in the dollhouse here are super creepy. Like, I know they're old,
yes,
but like the way their faces are worn down to like look kind of flat, like they've got no noses or like no forehead and stuff. I didn't like it.
But they have like wrinkles.
Yeah, they're really creepy. I don't like them.
There were too many close-up shots of them, for sure.
I agree. Too many close-up shots, these too many creepy dolls. So they find this doll once it's disappeared at the bottom of some stairs, and then you hear Susan screaming because the Goodwill guy is dead. And like, look, there's a shot in horror stuff that I hate, and they did it here. Do you know what I mean? Like, I have issues with people's necks being like kind of twisted round. They did it though, so his like mouth was still like slightly opening and closing. Oh
yes.
No! Can you not with that?
Yeah, that was really. Yeah, because the doll's head was also backwards when she finds it, and so this delivery guy, the Goodwill guy. Ugh. Yeah. Nope. And of course, that's when they end that like sequence. It becomes the title card, and it's like, ugh.
Yeah.
It's like a gasping fish. Ugh.
Oh, stop!
Oh, gross.
You know I hate fish. Don't combine the two things in my mind. Evil.
That's what I thought when he went.
Yeah, you're
in
right.
the episode.
How are we feeling about doll houses here? So I already said the dolls are kind of creepy. I'm not one of these people, though, that kind of recoil from those types of dolls. Like, if I saw them, I could sleep in a room with them, you know? Like, it would be fine.
No, that's fine.
Doll houses, I feel kind of sad that they're making a doll house creepy here, because I'm a person, I love tiny things.
Yes. No, I'm 100% with you on that one.
Like a miniature version of everything is just better than a big version of anything.
I agree. Like, I would totally. I think I've told like friends of this before that if I could afford it, I would make an Alice in Wonderland house. So like some room, everything is like super super tiny when you go in, and then other rooms are like ginormous furniture. Like you literally have to, like an adult, and have to climb up onto a chair. Like that would be my ideal house, and I would need a house this size of the episode to actually do something like that.
Amazing.
So if anybody wants to donate me a house that's like a mansion,
so she can make her Alice in Wonderland fantasy come true. Yeah,
exactly. Oh dear.
There's something to be said though for a chair though where your feet don't touch the ground. I like just as an adult. Anyway, that's a whole other thing.
Unfortunately, I haven't found any chairs like that because I am quite tall. So most of the time I can get my feet on the ground. I do love a good dollhouse, like especially ones like this where it's like a replica of an actual building. Like
Yeah.
those mini villages or miniature villages. I love
Yes.
those.
A model village. I love
A
a
model
model
village. They're so amazing. Like I went to one in the Cotswolds. I don't remember which village it was, but it was so amazing. Like I had such a good time, and I had like a train and everything. Oh, it was wonderful. It was absolutely wonderful.
There's there's a village, like a next village over from me. There's a person who outside their house has built a whole model village of their village. Like
That's
it's just in their
amazing.
front garden. It's just like amazing. Such like craftsmanship. Yeah.
Yeah, I need to see if there's any around. I'm sure there are.
Are model
Some
villages
around
like
here.
an American thing? Because I feel like there's a lot of model villages in the UK.
I think so. They're saying that. They may be more like that person with it in their garden. Like I think
Yeah.
it's probably more that than like an actual attraction. Cool. Back to it, shall we? Sam and Dean are still in Illinois. You can see like a missing persons report. So they filed it and trying to find her. Sam's on the phone with Ellen, trying to use some hunter connections because they know that a demon has taken her because of the sulfur.
Yeah.
Ellen has told them about a possible case in Connecticut, that there's some strange deaths happening in this house. And Dean's very much like, but how does this relate to Ava? And it's just, it's just this regular old case, and Dean calls him out for his angst. For not being angsty.
Yeah, I love this. I think he called it his patented Sam Winchester angst or something like that.
You seem surprised.
Well, yeah, it's just, not the patented Sam Winchester way, is it?
What way is that?
Just figured after Ava there'd be, more angst and droopy music and staring out the rainy windows. Yeah, I'll shut up now.
I guess it's true. If you think about all through season 1, how angsty Sam was after Jessica dying, I guess Dean's equating it to that. This is not the same situation. I think once Dean says this about him being angsty and, crying out of windows or whatever it was, he kind of realizes that he may have overstepped a little bit because his face kind of goes through a little journey. Because Sam is... He's kind of sad about it, but he's doing okay. So he's saying, like, he kind of blames himself for Ava because he told her to go home. He sent her away, and then her fiance got murdered and she got kidnapped by a demon. He's channeling that angst, I guess, into saving people now.
Yeah, he's completely like embraced the family motto, as it were.
So I'm not giving up on her, but I'm not going to let other people die either. We got to save as many people as we can.
I think it's kind of funny that Sam's embracing it, but Dean's kind of disillusioned with the whole, like, hunting thing. But if Sammy wants to go, Dean's got to go to protect him, because we saw what happened last time when they split up. Sam almost got shot in the head. Like, he's not going to leave him alone.
Yeah. I like Dean's comment here that he says, this is way too healthy for me. I guess, like, mentally. That Sam is kind of seeing it this way. I don't know, I found it amusing because, like, they never do anything healthily, and also, this isn't an example of that.
No, not even close. Not even close. This is, like, the complete opposite of being healthy. Like,
I don't think Dean can recognize healthy behavior.
No, I don't think so either.
I don't think Sam can either.
I think they have a general sense, maybe, because of what happens a little bit later on in the episode, but like not really a full grasp.
No.
Of what's actually healthy.
No.
I mean, so Dean definitely doesn't. Like, I'm talking from like beginning to end.
Yeah.
Like the food that he eats, like the things that he does, the people that he does. Uh, whereas at least Sam's like conscious, like he eats like not maybe organic, but he has like more of a vegetarian diet, so he gets his like fruit and veg and goes for runs and stuff like that. His body is like physically healthy, I guess.
Yeah, Sam has the concept of self-care.
Yeah.
At least. I don't think Dean does, no.
No.
But I don't know, it just... Look, the true ship in this whole series is just them in therapy. Like,
yes.
That's the one we really all wanted to see go canon. It's not the one we got.
Not even close. Not even close.
You take what you can get.
So they arrive at the hotel, and rightfully so, Dean is impressed because it is a very nice house.
It's very nice.
And then he says, I can't remember the exact. Well, he's also excited because it's like an actual haunted house. Yeah. And then he says something along the lines of sissy British accents. And I was like, excuse you?
Excuse me? I feel offended. I feel called out. Like, no.
And then the Scooby-Doo reference as well was pretty great.
I never get to work jobs like this.
Like what?
Old school haunted houses, you know? Fog, secret passageways, sissy British accents. Might even run into Fred and Daphne while we're inside. Daphne. Love her.
And it got me thinking, how many references were there before they actually did the episode?
I think there's a few. I think this is the first one, but we'll definitely have to point out the other ones. Yeah, I think there's a few. This one I love, and I feel like this is because this is the OG reference in Supernatural. I think this is the one they went back to when they did the Scooby Natural episode, because Dean says like, we might run into Fred and Daphne, and then kind of like says Daphne. It kind of establishes here that Dean has a thing for Daphne. Now, I get the Daphne thing. But do you not think that Velma is like inherently more Dean's type from the Scooby Gang? Because she's just a nerdy little dude.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. So it seems like, I follow a lot of cosplayers who do like safe for work and not safe for work stuff. And like, whenever they're going to do not safe for work, it's always Velma.
Yeah.
It's never Daphne. I guess because maybe Daphne's too obvious.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, they want to like,
Yeah, it's like the sexy librarian trope that like, I don't know. And also I guess the trend is like nerdy girls are hot now, right?
Yeah. I don't know. I want to see a sexy Daphne. It's just my... Anyway.
Yeah.
Let's stop getting thirsty for the Scooby Gang.
No, let's do that. So as they're walking into the front entrance, Sam spots a symbol on a flower pot. They figure it's some sort of hoodoo. And again, what Dean says here is like, isn't this house like a little white meat for hoodoo? I was like, what?
The thing is, I guess they can't just have him saying, but these people are white on TV. Yeah, no, you're right. But that's basically what he said.
But I feel like I don't feel like it had to be stated. Maybe.
No, but it's also.
But at the same time, that's so Dean to
so
state that.
Yeah, it's so in character. Like, oh my God. Yeah, it amused me greatly. I mean, yeah. Oh, but look, this whole episode is full of these really weird lines, and I loved it. Like this writer, I mean, come on. But this next interaction is iconic. I've seen it give so many times. Yeah. So they check in, and they see the girls run past them, and Susan's there and saying like, "Oh, nice to see you. You could be our final guests." And I think Dean says that sounds vaguely ominous. Like, he's just on a roll today with the one-liners. And she explains that they're kind of closing down. And then okay, I don't even know where to start with this, Annabelle. Like, I don't even know where to start because
She kind of like assumes that they're in town to do some antiquing.
yes,
And so they kind of roll with it. I guess they already had a backstory, but if they think that, they're antiquers, then okay.
Let me guess, you guys are here antiquing?
How'd you know?
Well, you just look the type. So, king-size bed?
What? No. No, no. We're two singles. We're just brothers.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
What do you mean that we look the type?
there's a stereotype, and I think it exists here in the UK as well, that like gay couples are into antiques. Like, I'm not sure where this stereotype has come from. I'll be perfectly honest. I don't know what the history is there.
Yeah,
But
no.
I don't know. But yeah, definitely when she says the line about antiquing, they're just rolling with it. And then when she says about the bed, Dean's like, his face. He does like a blink. It's so comedic. It's just like, he does like a blink and a like smile. I'm like, what?
And then he asked, like, how did you know we were antiquers? And she said, well, you look the type.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Dean's having a crisis here. Why is she calling him out like this? Like, is this a microaggression? Like, what is this?
So, like, have I told you about the Instagram page, which is called Siblings or Dating?
Oh, I know about it.
It is so much fun to go through.
Yeah.
Like, because sometimes you're like, okay, well, they're clearly they're siblings. And then it's actually revealed that they are dating. And I'm like,
Yeah.
how can you not see that you look exactly the same? And then sometimes they look the same, but they're like, the way that they're photographed, I'm like, you should not be that close to your sister.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, they have a similar thing. So on BBC Radio 1, so like, our national broadcasting, there is a radio feature that they have which kind of follows this, called Brother or Lover. And they have two guys come on and they have to explain who this person is in their life, and they have to decide whether they're their brother or their lover.
That's amazing.
And some of the ones I've heard have been amazing. Like, there were two guys on there and they were living together, and they were talking about like going to weddings together and stuff, and it just turned out they were just roommates. Like, it's really good. If you've not listened to it, it's quite funny. It's quite amusing. But yeah, this is that, I guess.
Yeah, this is absolutely that. It's actually insane. And so Susan, who's the person checking them in, rings the bell, and then the bellboy, or old man, arrives.
You'll be staying in room 237.
Okay.
Sherwin, could you show these gentlemen to their rooms?
Let me guess. Antiquers?
The other thing I thought was funny here was like, Sam interrupts this conversation when Dean says like, what do you mean? He starts talking about the vase outside. Like, where'd you get it? And I was like, oh, it's fine. He's saving his brother here from having an identity crisis in front of this woman. Like, and then I guess again the bellhop, like, it's great. They find out that I think the bellhop's called Sherwin. He kind of takes their bag upstairs and he's kind of dragging them along the stairs, which is really great. And then when they get into the room, he also like asks for a tip. I guess I don't really understand the tipping thing being British, but I guess it's funny because he did a bad job taking their bags upstairs and is now asking for a tip. Okay, fine, I got the joke.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. He had like a weird accent. Like, I couldn't in this beginning part, like, it was kind of like a weird little Irish lilt that was going on.
Think he was the sissy British accent in this scenario? But
I think he was trying to be, because later on it's completely dropped. Like, I don't know, it's kind of weird. And then it kind of cuts to Sam looking through some papers, and there's like a wedding dress that's like pinned up behind him. Yeah. Dean's also like, why? Like, it's no wonder the hotel's like closing down with this kind of like decoration or decor that's going on. Which is, I mean, it's kind of fair. Like, it is the way that the dress is pinned up is like, it's not traditionally like how a wedding dress would be. They did make it look very kind of ghostly, I guess.
Yeah.
Because it's not standing up straight, it is leaning to the side, and like the train is it's like the dress is in motion.
What the?
What?
That's normal.
And then this is another part of the identity crisis.
Yeah.
Of course, the most troubling question is, why do these people assume we're gay?
Oh, you're kind of butch. Probably think you're overcompensating.
Right.
And then the look that Dean has on his face was like, am I? Maybe. Could I be? I'm kind of questioning right now.
I just, like, Sam saying, like, you know, I kind of thought you were overcompensating. This is revenge for all the girl jokes that Dean's ever said to him. Like, I fully get that's what this is. But also, on another level, this is completely not what this is.
When Dean makes his girl jokes, like, Sam reacts in a way that's, like, offended, whereas this reaction was, like, was definitely questioning. It had to be.
He's thinking about all the interactions that we have with anybody in this whole life and thinking, did they think I was being real butch? What I love about this, and like, it just works on so many levels because, okay, yes, Dean is overcompensating. Inside, he's a big softie, you know.
It was too on the nose.
It was a bit for me. I was laughing so hard. Like, this is the first time they kind of they made one kind of gay joke before with the two queens thing in season 1. This is one where they kind of addressed it head on.
There was also in Bugs as well, like, and they lean into it on that one because like
this happen. I feel like this gets brought up again and again, which is, and like, it is funny, but it's also real weird. But I guess at the same time, by the fact that there are two things on social media, like your siblings or the relationship thing and the brother to a lover thing on the radio, people just find this kind of stuff super amusing.
I mean, it is hilarious. And like, it's also unusual. Like, it's not usual to see two guys who are brothers like travel to this kind of hotel.
Yeah, I guess
like
so.
If you were traveling across country and like, I don't know. Yeah, I feel like you'd more likely just stay in like a regular hotel.
No, okay, I've got this because at the beginning, the Goodwill guy was saying, oh, you know, my parents got engaged here. And she's like, yeah, a lot of people do. Like, it's a romantic getaway, right? So, okay, yeah, this totally makes sense why she thought they might be a couple, because this is a hotel you bring someone for, like, a romantic trip, not two brothers on the road, like...
Yeah. And also with the wedding dress in the room, like, I see it now. So they are now, like, they're walking around the hallways and they notice another vase with symbol on it that they saw outside. Yeah. They walk past like a door that has the word private on it. And they knock on the door to sort of see if they can talk to Susan. And Dean notices the dolls, and so I guess for a little bit of revenge again for like Sam's comment, he leans into like Sam having this massive doll collection and is like super into it, and would make his day if he could see all these dolls. It was great.
Are those antique dolls? Because this one here, he's got a major doll collection back home, don't you? Huh?
Big time.
Big time. Yeah. You think he could come in? Well, we could come in and take a look.
I don't know.
Please. I mean, he loves them. He's not going to tell you this, but he's always dressing them up in these little tiny outfits, and I mean, you'd make his day. She would, huh?
Sam's reluctance is what makes it so funny, though, to me.
Yeah. I had some notes that were sent to me by Charlie. He came on our episode before, so thank you. And one thing he was like, I would not let these guys in. If I knew... The thing about Sam liking dolls is making me more likely to not let them in.
Yeah. No, I'm 100% with you on that one. I'd be like, okay, two large men want to come in the office with my child in the room
to look at my doll collection. Look, not that we're enforced gender stereotypes on this podcast, but it isn't. I guess in this context, it's unusual for this butch guy to want to come in and maybe look at your China doll collection. Not that we're judging, but it would give, you know, it would be pause. You would pause.
But yeah, no, it doesn't lend to your conversation, like the acceptance of what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I guess she lets him in to be polite. She seems quite accommodating, I guess, even though they are acting super weird. Like,
yes, nothing about them has been charming. Usually they're pretty, like, you know, get on the good side of people, whereas now they're just kind of like, let us in. We really want to see these dolls. Let us in. Let us in.
yeah, it's kind of like that. And then when Dean gets inside the room, he acts like he's never seen a China doll before, despite saying that his brother was into them big time. Like,
yeah.
He says, "Oh, they're nice, not super creepy at all."
I know, like, that doesn't. At that point, you would be like, get out of my office.
Yeah. And like Sam goes over to the hotel dollhouse and finds the twisty-headed doll and acts super concerned about it. And I was like, how would this read? Like, if you were there in, like, you know, if you were there in this office with these two guys, look at these dolls, and suddenly, like, the taller one is like, this doll is broken.
Yeah, it does come across as very strange.
And, like, he's almost, like, accusatory of this doll being like, look at this. Like, it has a twisted head. Like, I know he's putting it out because of the accents and everything, but she doesn't know that they know about that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a weird moment for me.
Yeah, it definitely didn't sit. I don't want to say it didn't sit right, because it does, but it's like that. I feel like when he notices it, he probably shouldn't have said it, like, right then and there. Like, that would have been a conversation that they had
Privately.
somewhere else. Yeah.
Like a lot of their conversations, it should have been in private.
I mean, Sam does accuse Tyler, though, of breaking the doll.
Yeah, kind of. Like, she comes in and he says, like, oh, you know, I can fix this for you, kind of thing. And she, you know, she says, like, you know, I found it like that. Like, you know, I didn't break it. All this kind of stuff. This little girl. And then she says about Grandma Rose would be mad if she broke it.
Mm-hmm.
So we find out that Grandma Rose is upstairs. She's not very well. And these were all her dolls and her toys that they have in the hotel. It kind of fades to the grandma, so you kind of see her, and then it fades back. It was really weird.
Yeah, it was an odd editing choice for sure.
Mm-hmm. Sam wants to go to obviously talk to her because they're like, oh, old lady, you know. But Susan's pretty adamant, no, they can't do that.
Which is fair.
Yeah.
Even if you wanted to talk to her about the doll collection, it's kind of rude.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely. But I mean, this was definitely leading to, like, one of those gothic stories, because you're in a gothic house with grandma up in a wheelchair in this attic. Like, is it Jane Eyre?
Yeah, it makes me think of Jane Eyre as well. Yeah. With the lady in the attic.
They leave the office, and Dean's basically saying, I'll go look for one thing, and you go search for anybody who's been whacked in this house. And then he makes another porn joke.
All right, I'll go see what I can dig up on Boom and Granny. You get online, check old obits, freak accidents, that sort of thing. See if she's whacked anybody before.
Right.
Don't go surfing porn. It's not the kind of whacking I mean.
It got me thinking.
Yes.
Do you think the episode that Sam gets caught, right, that we recently watched, is not the first time that he's been caught since they started back on the road, and that's why he's making all these porn jokes? Because this is, like, all through season 1, he didn't make these jokes, and now suddenly, like, maybe Sam's getting over Jessica, but he's not, like, hooking up with people, so he's doing this instead, and, like, Dean's always there, so it's just like...
One, I can't believe we're having this conversation. 2, no.
Because it's so weird, like, that this has come up, like, this is, like, the 3rd or 4th time this season, and we're only 11 episodes in, that he makes this kind of joke.
They're way too close. I've never, ever, never in my life would I talk to my brother about this. Like,
No, neither
or
would
make
I.
any references to it. God, come on. No, I think this is my own headcanon here. I think, yeah, you're right. This is about that, where he walked in and he was like watching something. He was watching Casa Erotica on the TV.
Yeah.
I think he's definitely mentioned that about 1 million times afterwards.
Yeah.
I think it's just one of those things where you see like a sibling do something incredibly embarrassing and then don't shut up about it for a decade.
Yeah. Yeah. And the funny, so the thing that kind of again made me laugh so hard about that is that Sam doesn't act disgusted at that. He's more like, I know what you meant, like,
yeah, maybe.
or like, I wouldn't do that in the middle of a case.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just a different thing between men and brothers.
Yeah.
Particularly, they can joke about this kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, it's definitely. I mean, they're with each other all the freaking time.
Oh, I know.
Like that.
I cannot imagine. This is going way too into it, but like, I cannot imagine living with that low level of privacy in your life.
I know. Like, literally, the only privacy you have is like in the bathroom.
Like, literally, they're in the car together. They eat together. They work cases together. They sleep in the same room. Never apart. Like, just never. And when they are, one of them nearly dies. So I mean, talk about codependency.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess Dean's usually it's implied that Dean's usually the one that will go like stay with a woman. It's literally one night in like a week, maybe.
Maybe. I mean, this is it. Like, the only time they seem to spend apart is right when like Dean goes to a bar. Sam never really goes. I guess Sam stays there then and does like research or Sam things. Watches Casa Erotica again, you know.
Yeah,
so.
there you go.
Oh dear. Okay.
Yeah.
We see Susan and she's with a lawyer, real estate guy, someone who's closing the deal on this hotel that she's selling. And she's kind of asking like, well, what are you going to do with it? How are you going to restore the hotel? And he's like, oh, we're going to demolish it. And she looks kind of sad about it, but I guess she's kind of resigned to selling it. I mean, probably business isn't good. I think that's kind of the gist we're getting here.
Mm-hmm.
So she really needs to.
I don't know how some buildings in America are protected by like historical societies.
Mm-hmm.
And I would imagine, because the bellhop was saying that like 2 vice presidents stayed there, some other famous people stayed in this hotel. Would this place not be listed as like by or protected so that it couldn't be torn down?
Yeah, I thought that too. Like, it definitely looks like a listed building. You know, if it's been there over a century, that's pretty old for America. Because
I know in England that kind of happens automatically. Like, it gets to a certain age and then it gets protected. Like my home house, the house I grew up in, it's grade 2 listed, so we can't do anything to the outside.
Yeah,
we can do stuff inside, but we can't do the outside. I thought it was weird that like a house that was so famous would be able to be torn down. Maybe because of all the people dying in it of recent.
Yeah, it's got bad vibes.
Yeah.
Just start again. So then we see Tyler, the little girl, playing, and like there's a doll sat on the bed in the doll's house, and then it cuts to the real estate guy who's also sat on the bed in his room, so it's kind of like switching between the 2 perspectives. All right, this is the bit that made me think, okay, it's not the house doing, like, it's not the doll house doing this. It's like just mirroring, I guess, what's happening. Because
I think it's the other way around. I think because of what happens a little bit later, I think what happens to the dollhouse, because what it seems to be that the dollhouse moves, then it moves in reality.
Mm-hmm.
So rather than the other way around, that it's the reality that affects the dollhouse.
Because, like, okay, so, yeah, I was a bit confused about this generally. I think it could be, you could see it either way. I mean, I might bring this up later, actually, instead of now. Because, like, the bit with later in the car, there's no car in the dollhouse.
Yeah, that's true.
But then my point is that if the dollhouse is not controlling the people who are dying, that's a really strong ghost. Because this guy hangs himself with his tie.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, we haven't seen, really, a ghost yet that's capable of making people do something like that.
Well, so there was in Asylum. He somewhat... Oh, yeah, we haven't really seen ghost possession.
No.
Yeah.
So is the ghost possessing these people? Or... Yeah, I don't know. It was just a weird one for me.
We see that the guy hangs himself by his tie, and we also see it in the dollhouse, too.
Yeah.
It's an ad break, and we come back, and Sam is basically being angsty. He's doing exactly what Dean said, looking out of a stormy window.
I didn't make that connection. That's so true. You said it right at the beginning, like looking out windows in the rain, and there's Sam.
Look out a window in the rain. And he's watching the coroners take the, I guess, a real estate lawyer away. And Dean's obviously come back from wherever he was because he's talking to Susan, and basically Susan tells him everything. Dean sort of rushes into the room and starts like telling Sam to like look into all this stuff and the other. And Sam is drunk.
You're bossy.
What?
You're bossy. You're short.
Are you drunk?
Yeah. So stupid.
Dude, what do you think? We're working a case.
He's not that short. Okay, I guess he's short relative to Sam. My question is here. When did Sam get drunk? Because he didn't look particularly drunk when he was angsting out the window.
So I think he was where he was supposed to be at that point.
I feel like this scene haunts the rest of this season. I know we said it's not very plotty, but I first of all, I'm enjoying a drunk Sam. I really like the outfit he was wearing in this. I don't know what it was about that blue shirt with the white piping, but it made him seem like way younger than he actually was. It's something you would put on like a toddler. I don't know, like like the little like cowboy vest. Anyway, yeah. So Sam is drunk, and like he's angsting because he couldn't save this guy, and that he's linking that to the fact he should have saved Ava. And Dean echoes back to him what Sam said to him previously, that you can't save everyone.
I should have found a way to save him. I should have saved Ava, too.
Yeah, well, you can't save everyone. Even you said that.
No, Dean, you don't understand, all right? The more people I save, the more I can change.
Change what?
My destiny, Dean.
I'm thinking about how many times we've heard that throughout the show, like he can't save everyone.
That's like the second motto of this show, for sure.
I mean, it's definitely true. Not
Yeah.
everyone can, we can't save everyone, guys. We got one.
Yeah.
And Sam saying that, like, he thinks, or like drunk Sam thinks, that the more people he can save, the more he can change his destiny. So Sam's already thinking here that he's going to turn out bad. I mean, I think he's been thinking it for a little while.
Yeah.
But I feel like the stuff with Ava and Gordon has really kind of all met in his mind, and he's like, oh, I don't actually have much control about what's happening to me anymore. It's sucky. Like, I feel this arc for Sam is really rough. Like, imagine not having like autonomy over your own body, essentially. Or like he's thinking his mind also, because he's thinking that something's going to corrupt his mind, he's going to turn evil.
That's true. It's very true. You remember when this was just about finding John? Yeah, anyway. No, yeah, because he's kind of going through like grief almost.
Yeah.
He was angry at John for putting... So basically he's accepting that he is going to turn evil, like you just said. So he now agrees with John that he needs to be taken care of, I think is kind of what he says. And like, and then he asked Dean to do exactly what John asked him to do.
You have to kill me.
Sam.
Dean, Dad told you to do it. You have to.
Yeah, well, Dad's an ass. You never should have said anything. I mean, you don't do that. You don't lay that kind of crap on your kids.
No, he was right to say it. Who knows what I might become? Even now, everyone around me dies. Well, I'm not dying, okay? And neither are you. Come on, sit down.
No, please. Dean, you're the only one who can do it. Promise.
Don't ask that of me.
Dean, please. You have to promise me.
I promise.
I mean, I'm glad that Dean calls John an ass. Good on you, but it's a little too late. But yeah, we are all thinking that.
Because you're completely right. Dean tries to put Sam to bed. I love that he calls him Sasquatch. That just did it for me. Because I originally, like, when I heard the line again, I thought, as he was putting him to bed, that Sam was saying, you don't need to look out for me. And then you listen to it again, it's like, you need to look out for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, oh, it's too much, Sam.
Yeah.
I do like the fact that Dean's finally angry at... Well, I think he's been angry at John since he died, and I think that he's gone through the motions of that. I think we've seen it in the last episodes that we've watched in season 2, and we've seen all that anger at John. I think he's finally as he's become clean to Sam about what the thing was, that John told him to kill him, essentially, that I feel like he's almost putting that anger... He's angry at him, but he's not... He's kind of putting it aside a bit more now because he's got to look after Sam.
Yeah.
Because he says, like, you shouldn't lay that crap on your kids. And he's so right.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, John could have died without telling them that.
Yeah.
And I think there's almost a bit of, like, predeterminism there that John didn't think about. Because if he's telling... And I think this is... like where Dean's going as well with the whole destiny shtick. If John is almost saying that Dean is destined to kill Sam, because I don't know if John thought that he could be saved in any way because of the demonic influence. So I feel like he's almost setting Dean up to kill his brother, right? That's like,
yeah.
Whereas if John had never told him, would it have still gone the same direction?
Another thought, was John possessed when he told Dean that?
That's a heavy thought.
Because we already know that the yellow-eyed demon can impersonate John. So, I mean, I still don't like him. And I still think it was actually John who told him. But because of... Okay, I'm making a lot of assumptions. I'm assuming that when a demon takes over somebody, they get all their memories and stuff. So the yellow-eyed demon would know about like everything that John has put Dean through. So by telling Dean to kill Sam, he set into motion the rest of this. Sam doubting himself. Sam like asking Dean to kill him because we know that that is the ultimate plan.
Yeah. Was
them to bring about the apocalypse.
No, though, because this works on so many levels, right? Because before he tells Dean that, he says to him about how proud he is of him and everything. And Dean says to him, like, is this you speaking? I like how Annabelle, like, the only other time that Dean's questioned that is when he was possessed. Look, it's not canon, but, like, that's some good head canon stuff right there.
Yeah. Because if like you said, if he hadn't told Dean anything, this wouldn't come into question.
Yeah.
Sam wouldn't feel so, I guess, like trapped.
Yeah.
Because, I was thinking in Avengers, in Infinity War, Doctor Strange goes through his timelines and, like, there's only one that can actually work and all that kind of stuff. And, Stephen Strange says, no, I can't tell you if this is the one or not because it will change the outcome.
Yeah.
So is it kind of like that? But like instead of obviously seeing the future, it's the demon knowing that if he triggers something, he can make it the future.
This is what I mean. Like, this is this show. Okay, so, like the meta of it, because like it's all talking about destiny and like determinism, and if they had said a certain thing at a certain time, would it have come out a different way? This show is not just a show about fighting monsters, right? It's a show about free will and how much of your own life is determined for yourself.
Oh God, yeah, it really is.
So, like, it completely fits into that narrative of like, if John hadn't told him that, would it be different? I like the possession idea. I think that's cool. I do also agree that John is just enough of an ass to do that. And I think let's see how the rest of the season plays out. Do you know what? When I first started watching season 2, I did not remember it being this important in the entire show. I think season 2 is almost becoming like the season, like where all of this started. Like like some of this narrative is really coming together, especially about free will, destiny, what you have control over in your life, who's controlling your life.
Definitely.
That starts with the demon for Sam, right? Because he feels like the demon's in control of his life, that he's going towards that end point.
That's true.
Yeah, you're right. Sam agrees with John, though. And he said that he was right and that he might become something. And he says that everyone around me dies. And for Sam, that never becomes not true, which is awful.
But it's not isolated just to Sam, though. It's Sam and Dean. He's looking at it through a lens of himself. Because, well, yes, it makes sense for where we're up to in this TV show. But I feel like as the seasons go on, it's not just Sam. I have to say, when he said that line, I did roll my eyes a little bit, because it is kind of like I feel like they might have been able to say it a little bit different. I know he's also drunk, so it's maybe kind of like it's one of those lines that you hear everywhere, so it's just like
Yeah, I wasn't going to talk about the finale today, but this is why they should have had Eileen be there, because she would have been the one who didn't die for Sam.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
So what he does get Dean to do is promise to take him out if he goes bad. And initially Dean's like, no, I'm not doing that. You're not dying. I'm not dying. Lol. And eventually, because of this, I guess the sincerity and like the look on Sam's face, and also I think because he's drunk, Dean promises him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also like he also knows that if he doesn't promise him, he's just going to bicker him about it and not go to bed.
That's true. Yeah. So you're right. He puts Sam to bed, kind of watches him. They play Dean's theme in the background while he's watching Sam sleep. And I just wrote F you in my notes. Yeah. Again, thanks to Charlie for sending me this note, because I didn't initially make this connection, but I think it's a really interesting one. How this conversation really mirrors how Dean interacts with Jack in season 13, because Dean tells Jack that he's going to kill him if he turns bad. Like, those are kind of his exact words to him. Like, he threatens to shoot him if he ever goes bad. And think how different that Dean is from the Dean here. And I always thought that it just makes me think where that's coming from. And I know there's complicated feelings between how Dean feels about Jack in those seasons because of stuff that happens then. But I think I said this before, I think it would have been more nuanced because of how he was with Sam here. But then part of me thought, when she said that, was like, do you think Dean thought he maybe should have killed Sam at some point in this? Like, do you think that ultimately would have been for the greater good? Like, that's an awful thought for this series, but
it kind of is. And also, I don't know, he also gets jaded by the whole Hunter thing. I think because he never really got to get an out from it, that he just kind of accepted it and kind of turned into a mini Gordon for a bit. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Went down that rabbit hole. Yeah.
Yeah. let's come back out of that one. So this next scene is very much taken straight out of The Shining. Yeah. Also, another thing that's in The Shining, the room that they're in is 237, which is the room in The Shining.
They use that room number a lot. Like, we get it, guys. You're a Stephen King fan.
Yeah, basically. I love this whole next like little sequence. It feels very out of place though for like the rest of the aesthetic of the episode, but it looks great.
Yeah.
So he's like walking through kind of like a bar / sitting area with these like little table lamps on each of these little tables, and he goes up to the bellhop who's behind the bar, which is all like lit up from below. It's very cool. And they share a whiskey, and he asked the bellhop or Sherwin to tell him some stories of this building. And so they take like a little tour, and he's pointing out some pictures, and he points out Rose and Susan when Susan's like a young girl.
This is little Miss Susan and her mother Rose. Happier days.
You're not happy now?
Well, would you be, leaving the only home you ever knew?
I don't know. I never really knew one.
And I was like, he doesn't have a home.
I mean, Dean even says it. It's just a little throwaway line, but it meant so much, you know? Like, oh, I wouldn't know. I've never really known one. I was like, Dean, pour your heart out to this random guy.
But at the same time, like, it was so difficult for him to go back to his like childhood home in home.
Yeah.
So I think it was a little bit of like posturing.
Yeah. It was very casually said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. And then he shows him another picture of Rose as a child with a nanny who is black and has the same hoodoo symbol on her apron, I guess.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's a necklace, I'm not really sure. There you go, that's the source of the hoodoo for you. This next scene's great. Sam's over the toilet, like hungover, being sick. And Dean comes in, completely ribbing him.
How you feeling, Sammy? I guess mixing whiskey and Jaeger wasn't such a gangbuster idea, was it? Yeah, I bet you don't remember a thing from last night, do you?
Oh, I could still taste the tequila.
You know, there's a really good hangover remedy. It's a greasy pork sandwich served up in a dirty ashtray.
Oh, I hate you.
I know you do.
Sam comes right up to his face and is like having a conversation, and then he's like, "You gotta brush your teeth first."
Yeah, it's great. And like Dean checks in here as well to make sure. Oh, I guess you don't remember anything from the night before. Trying to get out of his promise already. Sam doesn't say anything about it actually, does he?
So he gets cleaned up, and they go to the office, and Susan's not there, so they break in. This has a very season 1 vibe, that like a good Monster of the Week episode.
Yeah,
this is like a really good one. And they start to like look around, and they find like a hidden door that leads up to the attic. It just got me thinking of like, that house must have so many hidden entryways and hallways and stuff like that. It's got to be amazing.
Yeah,
I'd have to like actually go to that house. I'm sure it's still around somewhere. And then we see Rose in the wheelchair. I don't know how they determine this, but they determine that, or Sam determines that she's had a stroke.
Yeah,
at some point.
You know she could be faking. Yeah, what do you want to do? Poke her with a stick? Dude, you're not gonna poke her with a stick.
What the hell?
It's ridiculous. It's so silly. Honestly, that poor woman can probably hear everything they're saying as well.
Absolutely.
Again, like
She's
stood
like...
2 foot away.
Yeah. And then Susan discovers them and is rightfully angry and tells them to leave within 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they drive away. Susan comes back into the house and tells Tyler, which is her daughter, to start packing because it's, you know, they're going to be moving soon, and calls out Tyler for having an imaginary friend who is Maggie.
Yeah.
And she's had enough of pretending that Maggie's there, which is huge twist. Oh my goodness.
I mean, it was a huge twist. No, it wasn't really. I don't know if it's just because they've done this a lot in TV shows where they like have someone who's kind of interacting with them and turn out to be imaginary later, but I feel like I've got real good at spotting it.
Yeah, I know. I do wonder, like, if, I guess because there are so many tropes in this particular episode for ghost stories, whether I would have picked up on that the first time through. I just don't remember, because obviously when I first started watching this episode, I was like, oh yeah, she's the ghost.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think I'm getting quite good at spotting the fake, like all the imaginary friends or the ghosts that hang around. I blame the Sixth Sense mostly, I think, for that. It just makes you question everything.
So Tyler is again playing with the replica house, and so this is where I was like, when stuff happens to the replica, that's when it happens to real life, because the swing starts moving, and then we go outside, the swing's still, and then it starts to move.
Oh, okay. So what I was saying before, like there was no car in the dollhouse. So what we see is like it all moving, and then like Susan's car tries to run her over, and there's no car in the doll's house. But the little girl was playing with that like horse toy, which I guess could be like a stand-in for the car,
because it was also red. Person that was on top of it was dressed in red armor or something.
Still though, okay. So we see like. Yeah, all the play equipment moving. I liked it. It was very creepy. There were lots of good camera angles of it being super creepy. Also, Susan, why are you walking towards the creepy playground? Let's just talk, girl. That's a really strong ghost.
Well, so
unless, okay. So we've got like hoodoo going on in the house. Do you think the nanny put a spell on the dollhouse?
I don't think so. I think it's supposed to be protective.
So maybe it is that way around then, in that the dollhouse is mirroring what's going on in real life, because you could use that as like a protective thing. Like it's kind of a nice, fun thing. Like it mirrors where people are in the house, kind of like the Marauders map in Harry Potter. Like you can see where people are and what they do. Like that would be a cute thing to make for a child, rather than being able to like voodoo doll control people by like pushing them down the stairs.
Yeah. I don't know, because there's also that doll that looks exactly like Maggie.
But again, maybe that's just the house, like reflect. I don't know. It's, the relationship between the dollhouse and the actual house is confusing, and maybe that line is supposed to be blurry.
Yeah. I think it's supposed to be just like creepy house, creepy miniature house. I do think she is a really strong ghost, because of just how old the ghost actually is. And then on top of that, so whenever this stuff happens, Maggie's not there. So she can't appear while she's possessing things.
I don't know. Ghosts, man.
There's too much lore around ghosts.
Too much lore with the ghosts. Yeah, it's definitely a way that ghosts work that we haven't seen before. And maybe it is just that connection with the like hoodoo as well. But I feel like that would have been like a protective thing rather than like a... But maybe it's been twisted since... Yeah, so Susan nearly gets run over by a ghost car. But Sam runs and saves her. He tackles her. He gets her out of the way. Dean runs up and's like, let's get inside. And they all go and grab some whiskey. Dean tells her about the whole thing. Hoodoo, spirits. She says they're insane. Dean kind of agrees.
You're insane.
Yeah, it's been said.
His flustered like explanation was really funny. Like, it didn't try to kill you by itself, but it kind of did, but not really.
Yeah, it was great. And he just like gives up halfway through the explanation of like what this ghost car is.
Listen, sister, that car didn't try to run you down by itself, okay? I mean, I guess it did, technically, but the spirit can forget it.
Just believe what you want.
They kind of figure out that the hauntings or whatever's going on coincides with the time that Rose had a stroke. And so Sam's theory is that she was actually protecting the house and is now unable to. And then this is when they also discover that Maggie is imaginary. But they obviously think, oh, that'd be a ghost.
Ghosty.
Yeah.
And then we cut to Maggie, and she's with Rose and basically threatening Rose, saying like, I'm gonna keep Tyler here. Nobody can stop me. But you can't stop me. Susan and Sam and Dean are trying to find Tyler, and they kind of are like, who could this Maggie be? Who else, like, who in this family has died, or anyone by that name died in the house? Yeah. And she says, well, Rose had a sister called Margaret, who drowned, and they figure, okay, she drowned in the pool on the property. Yeah. So that's where Tyler might be.
I love how they find this out, because when they go up to that like office place and they find all the dolls smashed, and like that music cue where it's like dun dun dun, like it's so cheesy. Like I loved it so very, very much. And like I couldn't figure out initially like why were all the dolls destroyed, but it kind of makes sense that she's mad at Rose, and like Rose was the person who had the dolls anyway, blah blah. But yeah, you're right. You see Tyler and Maggie, and they're above a big pool that's like covered in plastic, which is like super dangerous. Like I feel like I know you have to like cover your pool, But I also feel like if you step on the cover of a pool, is that not like super dangerous? I don't know. There's not a lot of pools in the UK.
So I think it probably wasn't done properly because I feel like they're supposed to have like tension so that if you do step on it, it doesn't. It would have to rip rather than just like dip into the pool.
To be fair, I guess like it may have been, but probably wasn't intended to take like an impact.
Yeah, there's that too.
So yeah, because Maggie's trying to convince Tyler to jump and says like, we're gonna be together forever, like very creepy, because Maggie doesn't want her to leave, right?
So it was in this particular scene that I realized they're wearing the exact same outfit. Kind of strange.
It is weird. It's very Wednesday Addams vibes.
Yeah,
Like,
it is.
yeah, that kind
with the
of
white
thing.
collar and the cardigan stuff. Yeah,
I guess this was okay, but this was a choice to try and stop us from getting that Maggie was imaginary, right? Because if Tyler had been dressed in like modern clothes and Maggie hadn't, we would have been like, oh yeah, she's a ghost.
yeah. To me, it looked like she was in a school uniform.
Or like some kind of like maid uniform for the house, because like 100 years ago you probably would have had children working as chambermaids.
I guess the main difference is their collars. Like, so Maggie's was sharp, whereas Tyler's was round.
Do you think that Tyler and Maggie, or like Maggie and Rose, are in any way paralleling Sam and Dean in this episode?
There were parts of it that yes, especially the later conversation with Maggie and Rose. Definitely. So we see all the gang turn up and they're trying to get in and they're like trying to smash through the window, but she's a powerful ghost because they can't even break the glass.
Yeah.
Because at first I was like, that's kind of weird that like Dean can kick down a door, but he can't kick down a conservatory door. It's like mostly made of glass. That seems kind of out of the ordinary.
Like that would only be single pane glass as well if it's that old. Like it should be really easy to smash.
Yeah, exactly. And then Maggie pushes Tyler into the pool, and we know that Tyler can't swim. Then I mean, she does kind of get away. She doesn't initially drown. She does come back up for air, but Maggie's there and pushes her back underneath, which is terrifying.
Yeah, absolutely, really scary.
Like at that point, this is the whole thing. Like if a ghost kills you, then you have to stick around with them forever. Well, Tyler's not going to be your friend after you kill her.
Awkward, man. I guess if you've got no other people there, that's your only other friend, right? So,
okay. So Maggie like hears her name being called, and you can only assume it's the Rose. And she goes away, and unfortunately Tyler starts to float, so it looks like she is drowned. And now Sam can break through the glass because he's like hitting it, but the glass isn't breaking with another like pottery thing. Yeah. And then like cannonballs into the pool.
Okay.
And has his mermaid moment.
He has his mermaid moment. It was almost like the exact same shot from like
Dead in the
Water. Yeah, Dead in the Water. Yeah. They did it the same way. Do you think they just really liked that shot and were like, right, we're gonna do it but with Sam this time? Like
I think so, but I think Jensen's the better swimmer because, well, I guess jumping into a lake versus jumping into a pool, because Dean does like a proper dive. Well, Jensen does a proper dive, arms out and everything, whereas this is literally a cannonball. Like he goes feet first. But at the same time, like
it was from height though. Like I get it, and it was a railing. Yeah. Like look, it was good. I like the whole like underwater shots. We don't really ever see them swimming at all. I know that's a really weird thing to say, but like I think this is possibly the only time we ever see either of them in water, like underwater shots.
And it got me thinking, like, when did they learn to swim?
Well, yeah, like
because this girl doesn't know how to swim, but yet there's a pool in her house.
Yeah.
And when they went to high school, like, there are swim teams and stuff, but, like, I don't think they would have been in high school long enough to join a sports team, right?
Okay. So here's when I'll say one thing for John. I reckon he probably did teach them to swim, but it was probably only because of situations like this.
Yeah, probably.
And it would have been, like, in some, like, crappy motel pool.
Oh, God. That's so disgusting, too. They are so disgusting too. Yeah. No, I think
And
you're right.
It may have been like that way, like it may have been that John taught Dean to swim though, and then was like, teach your brother.
Yeah, it could have been. Also later implied that they did a lot of camping and stuff, so you go swimming in the lake.
Yeah, no, I do think it was John, and like, but it would have been a survival thing. It wouldn't have been like for fun.
Because I'm sure there's like water monsters too, so they would have had to know how to get out to the water and not be afraid of water.
Yeah, finally go hunt Nessie.
Yeah.
So yes, Sam saves her. It's very slow-mo. There's all loads of slow-mo while sort of Tyler comes round. And obviously she's fine. But yeah, so Tyler is fine, but Maggie is gone. And we see her with Rose, and they're having kind of a one-sided conversation, like it's implied that Maggie can kind of read her thoughts because Rose can't speak. But it's basically Rose offering to stay with her. What Maggie says here was where I thought, are they trying to parallel their relationship at this point? But it felt weird for this point in the season.
But I don't understand. You kept me away for so long. I thought you didn't love me anymore.
I don't know. I don't know if it is a parallel, actually. Maybe I'm clutching at straws here.
I don't know. I kind of felt it too, a little bit. Not like, I think it's more of a subtle reference rather than look at these sisters. Now they're going to be like the brothers. I mean, because their situations are completely different. Like, we don't learn how Maggie died properly. Like, we just know that she drowned. The younger sibling, Rose, kept her out of the house.
I guess the only thing, the only parallel I can really gather from this at the moment is that it's kind of almost showing Rose never forgot about Maggie, right? Because now she's offering to kind of be with her forever.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that thing that Dean was saying in Crossroad Blues. It's selfish. It was selfish of John to do what he did because he left the people behind and then they have to live without them. And I think it's kind of that sort of thing, like how you deal with people who are gone. And also in this case, like ghosts. So like how the ghosts might feel about it. It's an odd one, but I think it's a little bit about like loss and leaving people behind almost. Which kind of parallels the brothers here because Sam did ask Dean to kill him in this episode, so fun times.
Yeah, definitely. So Rose agrees because basically Maggie was like, I'll keep trying until like I won't let her go. You have to be with me kind of thing. Susan and Tyler are, running up to Grandma to try and to go get her basically to leave the house. Sam and Dean are staying in the office, but then they hear Susan scream and run up the stairs. They see that Rose is now dead, basically cart everybody away. The next scene is the coroners again. They are removing Rose's body, and Sam is helping Rose and Tyler into a taxi, which is like a really old style taxi too. I thought it was quite cool.
I like this here because like Sam apologizes to her, like obviously sorry for your loss kind of thing. But then Susan actually thanks him, which is really nice for Sam. Like, I don't feel like he gets thanked very often.
Susan, I'm sorry.
Nothing to apologize for. You've given me everything.
And she properly hugs him too. It was really nice.
Really nice hug, yeah. Like, yes, Sam, get those hugs. I mean, obviously he saved her daughter's life, so yes, he would be incredibly grateful. So because I mean, this is one of those cases where they did improve the situation by arriving.
Definitely. Well, it's only relating to the demon that things seem to get worse.
That's true, actually. That's very true. I liked it when Susan's hugging Sam, like Dean's face in the background is like, oh, that's nice. Like he's also like, that's nice. I've got a hug. But of course, he has to ruin a sweet moment because when they walk away, he's like, oh, you could have got some MILF action, and it's like, Dean, just let it be a nice moment for Sam. Yeah. Without being weird about it. It's funny how he goes from like sweet to like joking to like sincere again very quickly. Because Dean then says like, look, you saved them. It's almost like, you were saying earlier, like, you did it, champ. You saved them.
Yeah. Well, you saved the mom, you saved the girl. Not a bad day. Of course, I could have saved him myself, but I didn't want you to feel useless.
All right, I appreciate it.
Sam does say that it feels good. So it's nice. This episode, end of this episode is kind of nice for him almost, because he was saying how he kind of feels it's his purpose in life now to save people, and they kind of got to do it, which is good for Sam, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. But he also remembers their conversation.
But it doesn't change what we talked about last night, Dean.
We talked about a lot of things last night.
You know what I mean?
You were wasted.
But you weren't. And you promised.
I mean, that was kind of the end of their conversation, really. Like, got in the car and drove away.
Yeah, I think the silence is very telling, as it was always in Supernatural. Like, Dean kind of looks at him and then looks away. He doesn't confirm that he is holding himself to that promise to Sam.
Right.
Yeah, I'm sure we can discuss this in later episodes, but I really do honestly think that if Sam wasn't drunk, Dean wouldn't have promised that to him.
Yeah, no, I don't think... No, absolutely not. It was... Because he even says here, like, oh, you were drunk, like, so that the promise doesn't count, or something along that lines. And Sam's response is, I was, but you weren't. But I don't think that's fair.
No, I don't. Dean shouldn't have said it. I think he regretted it as soon as he said it as well, because he did check in the next day to see if Sam remembered also. And I do think they take promises very seriously in their family.
I do too. Yeah, I think they're men of their word, as it were.
Yeah, exactly. This episode ends, like, it goes back through the creepy hotel, and you kind of see, like, two little girls playing together, so it's implied that their ghosts are still there. Don't know what's going to happen when the hotel gets demolished, but that's just fine, I guess.
That was one thing about this episode, like, they didn't fix anything. They got them out, but, like, they didn't stop the house. They know how to stop a haunted house.
Yeah.
But they don't do anything about it. The thing is, Rose is going to get cremated, right?
Well, if they're sensible, they would have at least suggested that to Susan.
So Rose's ghost is going to be gone. So Maggie's going to be by herself again. So it doesn't really... They didn't do anything.
Maybe if she's tied to the house, when the house gets demolished, that will send her spirit on its way.
There's three things she could be tied to. She could be tied to that doll that looks exactly like her. She could be tied to the actual house. Or she could be tied to the replica house. But we don't know what happens to any of those items.
That's a good point. If she's tied to 2 out of the 3 of those, were they not going to take that really expensive replica dollhouse with them to their new house, and therefore the ghost? Oh, Sam and Dean, you didn't finish this job right. Like, you didn't do it right. You should have burnt that dollhouse down to the ground. Oh dear.
I mean, as great as this episode is, it has a similar ending to, I want to say, Bugs. Like, you know how they didn't really fix it? They were just like, oh well, there's a curse on this land.
I also kind of feel like with no exit as well. I do think that they didn't solve that problem. I know they think they solved that problem by putting concrete down that hole, but I still maintain that ghost can get out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Even it might be like 10 years from now, it might be, well, 10 years from then or whatever, but that salt's going to degrade.
I do feel like sometimes they do a pretty half-assed job and then they're like dusting their hands off, like, good work guys, we did it.
That's tomorrow's problem.
Yeah. I mean, and you know, and maybe it's just ghosts. Maybe they just have an issue with ghosts, because I guess if you can't behead it, it doesn't, like, beheading something's pretty final, pretty easy to see, like, we did it, but ghosts is a bit more ethereal.
Yeah. Because the whole thing is that they're stuck. Like, they can't... Somebody external has to get rid of them versus them being able to accept... Like, in this ghost lore, once they've declined death or declined the Reaper, they can't go anywhere else. They have to stay there. But they can't accept their death anymore.
We haven't seen anyone pass on yet, like, of their own volition. This isn't the only job this season that they've kind of half-assed. Children shouldn't play with dead things. They stake that zombie, but what if someone takes that out of the ground? Is she just going to come back to life? Like, that's one of them. There was another example as well, I swear. Like,
yeah, they're not really finalizing their jobs in this season.
they didn't really try in The Usual Suspects. They just assumed that ghost had gone. Like the Death Omen woman.
Mm-hmm.
They were like, oh yeah, she's probably gone now. Like they didn't.
But she
check.
wasn't. She wasn't really a malicious ghost, though, right? She was just a death omen. Like she wasn't causing death.
But you've also said that ghosts can't move on of their own volition, so
That's
they've just
true.
left her to wander the earth and probably become a vengeful spirit if she's not being a death omen anymore. I don't know how it works, but they didn't check on that.
No, they did not. Oh, like Dead in the Water too. They didn't really fix that one.
Yeah, that's true. I like that it was just listing Winchester failings.
But yeah, there's actually quite a few that they don't really finish properly. That has a potential to come back and haunt them.
Yeah, like look, we've all started a project that we've been really passionate about, and then got to like nearly finishing it and be like, oh, but you know that'll do. Like,
yeah,
it's done. Yeah, good on them. Anyway,
all right. So next week we're going to be talking about Night Shifter, which has a 9 out of 10.
That's because this is a great episode, and I'm really excited.
I don't remember this. Reading this like synopsis, I'm like, what?
You are in for a treat. It is great.
Okay, I'm excited. I'm excited. Oh yeah, I mean, well, guess who wrote it?
Who?
Ben
Sarah
Edlund.
Gam. What, Ben Edlund? It's a Ben Edlund episode.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew that. I did know that. I don't know why I'm excited, because that was something I already knew. Ben Edlund, does he listen to our podcast? Like,
do you want to come on and talk to us about it?
Yeah. There's some things I need to know. There's some things I need to know about the episodes that you wrote. Cheers. Thanks. Okay. Look, this episode was great. I really enjoyed it. You're right. It felt like a really good Monster of the Week episode. There were some funny sibling moments in there. There were some serious conversations. It had it all, actually.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. It was a quintessential Supernatural episode.
Mm-hmm. We laughed. We cried. We kicked some ass.
Yes. I think if I was to send anybody to watch a Supernatural episode, this is probably one of them.
That's a good point. Yeah, I think that's... Put it on your... I don't know what would you would call it. If you're trying to pull someone into Supernatural fandom, there needs to be a term for that, because it's not a kind thing to do.
Descent into madness.
Yeah.
But like, how do you shorten that?
Drag someone into it. If you're trying to lure someone into the Supernatural fandom. If you're trying to ambush someone into the super... Anyway, there's a verb for that I need. So, yeah. If you've successfully managed to...
convert, maybe?
Convert someone to Supernatural fandom. Tell us what episode did it. I'd like to know.
Yeah.
So thanks to our wonderful friend, the Pixel Agora, for our beautiful art. Remember that those designs are available on Redbubble on all sorts of different things. I particularly like the water bottle. I think it looks pretty good. And you can leave comments and follow us on all of the social media. We're on Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, Ko-fi. There's more. Facebook. I'm sure there's another one. They're all in the description. And come talk to us, because we're super friendly and we'll respond.
So this week we met a creepy little girl ghost. We played with some even creepier dolls and had a rest at a very nice architectural hotel. Yeah. Hopefully next week we'll have more of a guide out of this place.
I hope so.
Who knows?
Bye.
Bye.